What's up, good people? It's your boy Dominique, DMINQ, and you are about to watch I Am This Way because, listen, I decided to go ahead and split this into two parts. Yeah, it's a lot of information. I'm kind of jumping back and forth, but this video is a little bit more about my past, kind of leading into the year 2021. Okay, so buckle up. It's going to be ghetto because I mean, I like to have fun. So you guys get to see my goofball self. I crack a few jokes. I get to be stupid. I'm playing around with the camera, all sorts of shit. So, but at the end of the day, I really hope that you all gain something from this video. I hope that you find encouragement. And yeah, but this is part one of I Am This Way because, and part two will be releasing. I will go ahead and release it November 29th, the same day as my new album. So make sure you guys tune in for part two. I will see you guys later. Happy birthday to me. Love y'all. What's up, y'all? It's your boy, Dominique Robbins, also known professionally as DMINQ. I'm a recording artist, producer, audio engineer, performer, healthcare professional, entrepreneur. I own the first arts and entertainment production company and professional recording studio in Rocky Ford, Colorado, known as Art Matters Productions. And this is my story. So I guess it's only right to kind of start at the beginning. I was born in Honolulu, Hawaii, October 16th, 1990. I was born to Michelle Kearns at the time, and that's my mom. But I was actually raised by my grandparents, her parents. My grandmother, Vera Jackson, and my grandfather, Gregory Jackson. Not gonna lie, my childhood was pretty cool. It was pretty dope overall. But there were some instances. So like how, my mom pretty much, I'll say, gave me up to my grandparents when I was a baby. I remember my grandmother telling me that, my mom used to party a lot. She used to party a lot. She used to do a lot of things. And, none of that, of course, affected me in any type of way that we know of. But I can remember one story. I believe we were still in Hawaii at the time. My grandmother told me, this is after I was born. And, my mom, she wanted to show me off, she wanted to show me off to her friends, saying like, oh, look at my new baby. He's cute, boop, 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 And my grandmother wouldn't let her. My grandmother was literally like, nah. You're not taking the baby, because my grandmother, she's like, I knew what type of parties your mom was into. She's like, I knew what type of environment she was possibly going to go to. So she was like, nah. So they fought. They went back and forth for a hot minute. Eventually, my mom was like, whatever, bye. She left. I was still at the house. Literally hours later, I think probably in the wee hours of the late night, early morning, my grandmother got a phone call saying that my mom hit a palm tree on the way home from a party, totaled the car. She walked away. But thinking about it, imagine if I was in that car. Would I even be here today? Would y'all have DMINQ? Would I have any of this? What would have happened? As a kid, I grew up with a lot of abandonment issues, a lot of anger. My heart was filled with a lot of feelings, man. It really was. And part of it was just because I was like, yo, I thought my mom didn't love me. I thought my dad didn't want no parts of me, you know, and I just believed that. And no one made me believe that. It was literally just my grandmother was sharing stories, and like even the way that I grew up, with my mom, I didn't really grow up with her. I grew up knowing who she was, but I didn't grow up with her. You understand? It was hard. It really was, because I was grappling with those feelings so bad. I was like, yo, I thought something was wrong with me, y'all. I really did. For years, I thought I was defective, but my grandmother, God rest her soul, she just kept loving me. Her and my grandfather both. They just kept loving me through it, loving me, beyond it. I was raised in the church, and everything. So from the start, there's a lot of issues from the start. And this is why I'm named the video, I Am This Way because I'm letting you know why I am the person I am today. And, I will say, thank God. Thank God I wasn't in that car. Who knows what would have happened? Would I even be alive? Who knows? And thing is, according to my grandmother, she told me a lot. She told me a lot of stories from when I was a baby, but these are the ones that are sticking out. She remembered a story from when I was, again, a baby. And they said I had a lot of developmental issues. They said I had a lot of issues. And I would have a lot of issues. In fact, that same doctor told my grandmother, that I wouldn't live past the age of 10. Fam. The doctor literally told her I wouldn't live past the age of 10. And that kind of set her off, because, my grandma, she was one of those people who was really Bible, what I'm saying? Like, she believed in God. She believed in the power of God. She believed, what I'm saying? Like, she was for real, a Christian woman. And she heard from God. She heard from God a lot. The same way I hear from God now, in my dreams, this, like, that's the thing. I believe I got, and I'll go into it later, but I believe I got the ability to have visions and stuff from my grandma. I think I got it from her. Cause she was the same. She could see things. She would see visions and things like that, especially in her sleep. And, what I'm saying? She would pray every single day. I don't think there was a day that I didn't hear or see her pray. I don't believe that. What I'm saying? Like, she really believed in God. She really believed in Jesus. And her faith is what really propelled her to basically prove the doctor wrong, when that doctor was like, Dominique's going to not grow up right. He's not going to be able to do much. He's going to be like a vegetable. He's going to be handicapped the rest of his life. You're going to have to take care of him, the whole nine. And my grandmother was just like, nah, fam. She, say, like, those weren't her exact words, but she was like, nah, no, this baby will be everything that God wants him to be. She was that, I'm not going to say crazy, but she was that radical with her faith, that she believed that, God would use me for his glory, and that God would still allow me to have a good life. And he did. You know what I'm saying? Years later, that doctor was able to see me years later. And I wouldn't even say years later. I think it was like a year later. The doctor saw me moving. I was, picked up my own head. I was, what I'm saying? I was talking. I was, trying to talk. I was doing everything. And the doctor was like, yo, like, this ain't the same kid. This ain't the same baby I saw. This ain't the same kid. And that was because my grandma was like, yeah. She's like, because I worked with him. She's like, because she's like, no, I was determined for this baby to be what God wants him to be. And so faith has really been a big part of my life from birth on, you know. And so, of course, ended up leaving Hawaii sometime later. And, the thing about, Hawaii was, in fact, there's one more story from Hawaii that I remember. And I remember my grandma said I was 2 years old. We were on the beach, actually. We were on the beach, and we were, playing and whatever. Then a current came, and my grandma literally said it was kind of like a hand that came and pulled me. But a current came, pulled me out, pulled me into the water. My grandfather jumped into the water to save me. And they said, when he pulled me out, I wasn't crying. I wasn't doing nothing. I was just looking at him. So I was looking at him like, but, she was like, it was like you weren't afraid of the water. It wasn't that I wasn't afraid of death. Please don't get me wrong on this. I wasn't afraid of the water. Y'all get me? Y'all get me? All right, cool. So I wasn't afraid of the water. Sorry to adjust the camera, but I wasn't afraid of the water. I'm a water baby. And the thing is, if you ask anybody, like, I love showers. I love being in water. Being in water calms me. It's like, it's a safe place for me. But that moment where I could have died, but I believe if I had died again, I would not be who I am. I wouldn't be here to be this, But continuing, my grandparents were in the military. They were in the Army and whatnot. So they ended up getting stationed at Fort Carson. Now, between getting stationed at Fort Carson and me basically being dropped off on their doorstep, there was I think there was a 6-month gap, barely 6-month gap. And, my mom, she was, I remember relatives saying that, my mom would pass me to my aunts. I was bouncing house to house in Oklahoma for a hot minute. Simply, and I don't know if it was because she just wasn't ready to be a parent again or what, but I really didn't spend that much time with her, in Oklahoma. So then at one point she found out where my grandparents were, of course. And, she brought me to them and basically left me right there on their doorstep. And I was raised by them. From the beginning, basically from birth. My grandmother named me from birth. Basically, I was being raised by them from birth, basically. But, from being, then of course, moving forward, I get dumped on their doorstep. She wasn't really ready. My mom wasn't ready to be a parent. It is what it is. She wasn't. And, I don't have any issues with that. I've come to terms with that. It's just, it hurt as a kid to be told that your parent wasn't ready to be a parent. And I don't think that's talked about enough. I don't think we talk about those feelings. Like, there is a sense of abandonment with that. Because it was like, I just didn't think my mom loved me. It's truth. And there'll be times, I would talk to her on the phone. There'd be times where, she visited Colorado a couple times with my, younger siblings. You know what I'm saying? And it was one of those, I knew of her. I knew who she was, but I still didn't know her. You feel me? I didn't know her as I should have and could have. Y'all feel me? I didn't know her. And it sucked because I wanted to. I wanted to know my mom. I wanted to know my dad. And I didn't get to. And it sucks, you know. But moving on, because, you know, I don't want to take up too much of your time with the, you know, feelings and stuff. But moving forward, I'm being raised by my grandparents. My grandmother told me, you know, basically I've been singing since before I could talk. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, I remember she was telling me, like, you know, we'd be in church, and she had me, like, you know, in the little seat, the little car seat, whatever, you know, under, you know, in front of her in the choir stand. And while the choir was singing, I was trying to sing, you know. And so at 3 years old is when is when I started singing for real. And you know, my grandmother, you know, knew it. She kept me in the choir. I was singing in the adult choir at Emmanuel Missionary Baptist Church in Colorado Springs. At the time, it was on 1 South Walnut Street. And I think personally, that was like the best times. Man, let me tell you, Emmanuel, I have to say at least something positive. We was some bad motherfuckers. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. We were the best choir. Like, we was the choir to beat, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, sorry for the language, but, you know, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, your choir wasn't fucking with us. You know what I'm saying? Like, we had, you know, best musicians, best singers, all of that. Like, you know, we had a large choir. And, you know, of course, I remember, you know, as a little kid, you know, I was singing in the adult choir. And then eventually, you know, I got to sing in the youth choir, but I was mostly in the adult choir, you know, and because I just love to sing. And I love being around my grandma. Like, my grandma, my mom, grandma, you know, she really was like my best friend. Like, we were literally like two peas in the pod, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Where she was, I was. Where I was, she was. You know what I'm saying? Where she was singing, I was singing. Where I was singing, she was singing. Where I was playing, she was, you know what I'm saying? Like, we were two peas in the pod, bro. Like, that was literally my best friend. And she's the one that really introduced me to Christ. She is the one. You know, my grandfather, he was the provider for the house, you know. So, and at one point, especially in my younger years, you know, my grandma, she was a special needs educator. So she really held the house down while he was going to school. And then once he finished, you know what I'm saying, he held the house down after that. But, you know what I'm saying? But he was kind of, you know, he was in and out. And I knew, and the thing is, though, I still had a relationship with my grandfather. Probably not the best, looking back, probably not the best relationship, because my grandfather, we're both Libras, by the way. So our birthdays are literally 2 days apart. We're both Libras, bro. And we are both stubborn. We're both hedged. Like, we basically is like, we the same type of person, two separate bodies type of deal, you know? And yeah, we butt heads a lot when I was a kid. We really did. When I was a kid and a teenager, we really butt heads. And it wasn't, you know what I'm saying? And this is where kind of like I get my form of parenting from. But, you know, my grandfather really provided that, like, you know what I'm saying, built for tough, you know, type of parenting. But so did my grandma. But my grandmother, she knew how to have both nurturing and the tough. She knew how to have both, you know, where my grandfather just kind of knew, like, it was. And the thing is, again, because we the same type of person, you know, he'd go from 0 to 100. And, you know, so back then I really felt that, like, he didn't like me to a degree. It really felt like he didn't like me, or he didn't want me around. But in reality, we used to hang out a lot. Like, my grandfather and I used to hang out. I remember we go fishing. I remember he woke me up one day. It was during, I don't remember, I think it was during summer. And he literally woke me up to be like, hey, get up, we're gonna go fish it. Literally, y'all, when I was like, what? It was like 4 o'clock in the morning, maybe earlier than that. So we go, he got the car warmed up. It's late night, early morning. He, say we drive miles and miles to go to the lake to go fish. And that was one of the things that we enjoyed doing together. Another thing that we enjoyed doing together was singing in the men's choir together. That was another thing that we enjoyed. We even enjoyed doing we enjoyed doing Boy Scouts. Like, you know what I'm saying, when my grandma couldn't do it, he would do it, and when he couldn't do it, grandma would do it. Even though grandma was like the majority, there a lot, he was still, he would still contribute as much as he could. And if I needed to do a badge or whatever that, grandma couldn't do, you know what I'm saying, he would help me with it. So my grandfather and I, again, we butt heads a lot, but you know what I'm saying? But part of it was within reason, because as a kid, I'm not gonna lie to you, I had a slick mouth. I'm not gonna lie. I really did as a kid coming up. But, I think to a degree, it was one of those like, did he always react in the best way? Probably not. And my grandmother would definitely, you could hear, like, she would definitely have those conversations with him, whether, he wanted to hear it or not. She would always have those conversations with him like, hey, she's like, okay, I know what Dominique did. Like, Dominique effed up. Like, let's be real. Dominique effed up. He know he was wrong, but at the same time, she'll go back and be like, yo, but the way you reacted was wrong. You know what I'm saying? The way you handled that was wrong. You know what I'm saying? So I think over time, she really taught both of us how to communicate, how to, really love each other over the years. But, of course, my grandfather was gone, working. He worked for Intel. He was one of the big dogs at Intel. He was really, really good at his job. He really was. He worked at, if I remember right, MCI. Y'all remember MCI? That's old, bro. MCI. But then, of course, he switched over to Intel. And that's where he worked, pretty much until he retired. But again, he was the provider. So no matter where he was the provider, but he was always still within reach. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he would go to like California, I believe he went to Virginia for a little bit, New Mexico, Arizona, you know what I'm saying? But no matter where he was, we would go and we would visit. You know what I'm saying? There'll be times we go maybe for like 2-3 weeks just to go out and hang out, have fun, and then come back home. We would travel, we would do all sorts of stuff. As a kid, I remember always traveling to Oklahoma every summer, bro. Like, I remember my family every summer, we would go to visit family in Oklahoma, and that was another thing my grandma was big on, was family. She was super big on that. And maybe a little bit too much, because I remember as a kid, even though I loved my cousins, I would hang out with them, I still felt a disconnect. You know what I'm saying? I still felt like there was some form of a disconnect. Like, it's one of those like, okay, these are your family members, these are your cousins, blah, 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 blah. But you are different. You are not the same as everybody else. And I felt that. I felt that real hard. I felt that for the longest, y'all. I felt that for the longest time as a kid. Like, yo, I know I'm not the best, but I'm not the worst. I just didn't feel like I belonged with my own family, because I felt so different. And, and the thing is, I was a church kid for real. I was, I was I was always in church. No matter where I was, we would always go to church. No matter where I was, there was always a church. I was singing somewhere, playing somewhere, no matter what. You know what I'm saying? No matter what. And that, in a way, made me different from my other family members. Once my grandmother saw that I had a gift for music, she really cultivated it. But I don't think she really thought about how, to a degree, we built a disconnect from myself to other people. I don't think she really knew that. You know what I'm saying? I don't think she understood that by pushing me to be different, it made me different, if that makes sense. you know, um, because, the rest of my family was very traditional, they all boyfriends, girlfriends, got married, had kids, blah, 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 whoop de whoop, you know what I'm saying? Like, but that wasn't me. That wasn't my path. That wasn't what I wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, but even as a kid, I was a queer kid, bro. Like I was the gay kid in the family. And I think a lot of people just didn't want to come to terms with that. It's one of those, like, your family knows, but they like, fuck, we ain't talking about, like, fuck that. We ain't talking about it. But, what I'm saying, and I never really knew how a lot of my family members felt, especially when I came out at age 12. I came out age 12, and that was the same age that I started really playing the drums publicly. I came out as a drummer. So I guess I came out two ways. Came out as gay to my grandma, and then came out as a drummer. Same year. So I think in a way it was kind of like, it was a double coming out type of situation. But, my grandmother, now, again, she was a Bible believer. So at first, when I did come out to her, and she really was like one of the first people outside of my friend circle that I told that to. You know what I'm saying? My friends knew, family knew, a few members of the family knew, but when it came, when it came to me actually coming out, she was like the first, because, I trusted my grandma. You know what I'm saying? Again, we were best friends. Like, I trusted her with so much information about me and what I was going through and things like that. But I never really shared with her my feelings of being attracted to the same sex. I never really talked with her prior to that. And I was in therapy at the time. And my therapist helped me come out to her at age 12. And, and the thing is, she was told, years prior, oh, it's going, if Dami has a chemical imbalance, what I'm saying, it might impede his ability to, know right from wrong, and, this, that, and the third. But also, the doctor tried to persuade a little bit to say, that's, Dominique might turn out gay because of it. And I don't believe that there's a chemical imbalance whatsoever. I don't believe that. And I don't think she did either. But I came out to her. She was cool. I mean, she was okay. In a way, she was cool. In a way, she wasn't. You feel me? She's a Bible believer. So when I first came out, y'all remember the show Degrassi? There's a gay character on there named Marco. And I was watching this show, and he was my favorite character. And she saw some photos and stuff, of him, and she proceeded to start to leave me little Bible verses. She wrote me a letter one day after I came out. She's like, that's not what God wants for you. That's not what God has for you. Like, what I'm saying, this is what the Bible says, and, and that's it. But over time, as I got older, I think she started coming to terms with it. I think she did, because the giving me Bible verses stopped. Her, writing me letters stopped of that subject. And, we was just cool. We were cool again, So I say that just, I don't know exactly what her thought process was. We never talked about it, but I knew that it was a process for her. I knew it was a process, but I just let her go through it. What else can you do? I just, you let them go through, you let them deal with however they're going to deal with it. That's just what you do. And, so I let her deal with it. She pretty much came to terms with it. Now, when I talk about my family, I'm not trying to make myself seem as if I'm better than them when I say different, because it's not true. You know, it's one of those things. I don't think I'm better than anybody, but, you know, I was just different. I really was. And so, you know, as a teenager, you know, I got to do a lot of stuff. I got to do a lot of traveling. I got to play for many gospel and Christian artists. I got to go to different conferences to play. Oops, sorry. I got to do a lot as a teenager that was afforded to me by my grandmother and the Gospel Music Workshop of America Incorporated. And I'm very grateful for those experiences. You know, I remember, sorry, I'm kind of slouching, but, you know, I had moments. And the thing is, it's like, okay, yeah, I came out at 12, so we knew I was gay. But it's one of those, like, damn, like, when I could have been excommunicated, my grandmother kept me in church. You know what I'm saying? And we just made it where we just didn't tell anybody about me being gay. We just didn't tell anybody. That wasn't a thing. You know what I'm saying? Because I grew up, especially going to Emmanuel, it's one of those like, okay, you know that there's gay dudes in the church, but you don't know who. Because it wasn't, you know what I'm saying? Either it just wasn't talked about or wasn't like fully expressed that these were the gay dudes of the church. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's just how they roll. That's just how it was. There's no, you know what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with that. It just wasn't a thing in church like it is now. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we knew, and they knew, people knew there was gay dudes in the church. People knew. But I think what really messed me up as a kid and even as a teenager was that I would hear the hateful rhetoric from different preachers saying, you know, a man sleeping with a man is disgusting, or, you know, or homosexuals are going to hell, and, you know, or God hates fags. I would definitely hear that a lot. God hates fags. And this, you know what I'm saying? This, that, and the third. And it's like, yo, that's another reason why I didn't say nothing to anybody in church, really, because I was like, yo, I'm going to be hated. I really felt that I would be hated. I would be ostracized. I would be shunned. I literally, I thought that they were going to come at me with pitchforks and be like, you sinner, you know, and that didn't really happen. You know, fast forward a little bit to when I was 18. No, I was 19 years old. And we had a minister of music by the name of Gerald Clay. And I know I'm kind of bouncing around, you know, y'all, I had everything in my head and just kind of went out, but Gerald Clay, Minister Gerald Clay, he, I'll preface this by saying, I don't believe he went about this situation correctly. I don't. And I don't condone his behavior. And I hope others don't either. Because when he had a moment to speak with me privately, he chose not to. He had, I remember it was MLK Day, and we were getting ready for a musical with the GMWA, Gospel Music Workshop of America. And he told, you know, my grandma, he's like, hey, I need to meet with, you know, you and Dominique. So we set up a time, Wednesday, cool. Go about the musical, everything is fine. Wednesday comes, that Wednesday. It comes, and so we walk in first. We walk in, we go to the church, go to the meeting room. We walk in. And, you know, sitting there. is, deacon and a family member. Now, I'm not going to mention their names because they're innocent, so they have nothing really to do with it. But we have a deacon and a family member. And we all just looking at each other like, what you doing? Like, hey, what's up? You know what I'm saying? Like, and then the deacon asked, he's like, hey, do y'all know why we're here? Because Minister Joe Clay ain't walked in yet. So he like, do y'all know why we're here? And me and my grandma were like, nah, we don't know him. The family member like, nah. Auntie was like, nah, we don't know. And, he's like, oh, okay, I was just wondering if y'all had known anything or whatever. Like, nah, fam, we don't know anything. So Mr. Joe Clay finally walks in. He walks in and he drops a stack of paper about, I would say, this thick in front of us and goes, look through that. So we looking through. So I pick it up first because my grandma was like, look at it. So I pick it up. I'm going through. And this dude literally had pages, and I mean pages of posts. See, this is like early Facebook days when everybody could see your post. This is before the security settings and all that shit. This was when like you could actually see everybody's post, you know what I'm saying? And you could support whatever. And so this fool literally had the secretary of the church Facebook stalk me for months. Simply because he heard that I was gay. So he had this woman Facebook stalk me because she told me later. He had her Facebook stalk me for months. This was months of posts, pictures, friend list, all that shit. All of it. Right there in front of me. And I'm just like, you know what I'm saying? I'm literally like, bro, like, what the fuck is this? Like, what the fuck going on? I'm literally like this, y'all. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I was literally like, yo, what's going on? Like, what's this? And he's like, well, do you recognize those posts? I was like, yeah, it's from my Facebook. Like, what's up? And he's like, well, he's like, well, we can't condone this behavior. Well, first of all, ain't nobody fucking tell you to have anybody Facebook stalk me for no reason. Don't matter what you heard. And even my grandmother, she pretty much said the same thing. She like, don't matter what he heard. That's absolutely positively wrong. And the interesting part that I didn't say was my grandmother actually the day before the meeting. Oh my God. The day before the meeting, my grandmother said that, God told her, hey, I need you to have Dominique write up a resignation letter. See, at this time, I was like the head drummer of Emmanuel. You know what I'm saying? I was playing. I was everything. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I was the drummer. Like, you know what I'm saying? Anytime I step up in the building, people were just like, oh, it's Dom. Like, yo, get him on the set. Yo, come and play this song. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was that dude for a while. I was that dude. You know what I'm saying? And it all just came crashing down in that one moment. But I typed up the resignation letter, go to the meeting the next day. This presents itself. It presents itself. And it really hurt because this was someone I actually trusted. This is someone I looked up to. This is someone, you know, I enjoyed playing with as musician and drummer, and you know what I'm saying? Like we were doing some really good things. And it literally all came crashing down that one moment. And he literally offered gay conversion camp. Said that he did some research and found a camp in Golden, Colorado that could fix me. Now, the deacon and auntie didn't know what to say. No one in the room really knew what to say. I think everybody was just in shock, like, you know, literally, I think everybody else in the room was just like, is this nigga for real? For real, y'all. I think everybody in the room was like, is this nigga for real? Nah, he was for real. He was straight up. He was, y'all. He was straight up. Let me try to refocus this shit. Sorry, y'all. It's gonna be hella ghetto, hunger. But there was like, we were all looking like, is this nigga for real? You know? And he was. And he's like, well, if you don't want to do gay conversion camp. Oh, and then the bad part is he said he was going to have the church pay for it. But he's like, yo, if you don't want to do gay conversion camp, then, you know, we'll have you do counseling with this other lady here at the church. And she was a known hoe. Yeah. Allegedly, she had some dicks in her closet. Allegedly. But yeah. But me and my grandma looked at each other. My grandmother said, give him the letter. That's literally what my grandma said. She said, give him the letter. Gave him the letter. He read it out loud. It was my 2-week notice, basically. And he's like, thank you, but nah, he's like, this is going to be effective immediately. And that was the end of my time with Emmanuel Missionary Baptist Church. The church I grew up in, the church I sang in, the church I played in, the church I was, you know, going beast mode in. That was the end. And it sucked because that was my community. It did. That was my community. That was a safe space for me. I mean, I loved Emmanuel. You know, I did. And it hurt because it was like, why y'all doing this to me? Of all people. You know what I'm saying? Of all people, why is he doing this to me? Why is he so worried about if I am or am not sleeping with the same sex? Why is he so worried about that? Why? Why is it a topic of fucking discussion? It wasn't because I made it one. You know, and the people that I did get to talk to after, a lot of them weren't shit. They weren't. A lot of them was just like, yo, you need to be careful, more careful of you know, who you talk to. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, nigga, that's not what the fuck I needed right now. I needed encouragement. I needed someone to say, yo, Dom, like, it was wrong how they treated you. It was wrong what they did. It was wrong. Like, why was I not getting that? But I got to be careful who you talk to. You need to be careful with who you converse with. Why did I get that? You know what I'm saying? Why did I get that instead? Like, yo, like, that's not what I needed. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just not what I needed at the time. You know, that's not what I needed. And yeah, That was like my first experience with hurt in the church. And actually, no, that wasn't my first. My first one was actually my former pastor, my first pastor that I know of, Pastor Benjamin Reynolds. He was such an inspiration to me. Like, dude was. Like, I truly revered and respected this man immensely. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I loved him. I appreciated him. He really supported me. He really loved me back. Loved my family. And to know that we would hear rhetoric like we did when it came to gay people. And for him to come out and then just leave the church, it really hurt. Because, again, that was someone I looked up to. That was someone I loved, someone I revered, someone I respected heavily. And it seemed like in an instant, let me get you a little closer to y'all. In an instant, that was hard. It hurt because I don't think. Sorry, I'll keep messing with this camera. Tell you it was gonna be ghetto as fuck, like. But nah, it was just hard because knowing the rhetoric that has been shared in the pulpit, from that pulpit, to then realize and be told that he was just like me. I don't know what fucking hurt worse. I really don't. I don't know what hurt worse. The fact that he came out or the fact that there was rhetoric about gay people that was allowed to run rampant in the pulpit. I don't know what's worse. But he came out and it was hard because at that point I didn't see him for a long period of time. I didn't see him. And it was always on my mind for me to be like, yo, why did you do that? You know, why did you leave? And you could have been something, you know what I'm saying? You could have been a leader, pushing a new movement. And I realized later on that the church wasn't ready for that. Church ain't ready. You know, he could have pushed a new movement. And he didn't end up pushing, inclusivity and equality and whatnot, but that would have been a great moment for him to do it then. And he didn't. But I look back and it's like, oh shit, like maybe that wasn't the right time. Maybe not. I don't know. But who knows at this point? Who knows? But yeah, that kind of hurt. It also hurt when Mr. Joel Clay did what he did. And never apologized for it. Because, people that do stuff like that think that they're in the right all the time. And in reality, they're not. Because offering gay conversion camp is not how you handle that situation. It just isn't. I knew that. My grandma knew that. The other two people in the room knew that. It was hard. But I left Emmanuel Missionary Baptist Church. And the ministry kind of suffered a little bit. Especially when people found out what happened. It did. It was nice knowing that I had more support than I thought. It was nice. It really was nice. But I wish there was more. I wish there had been more. But again, different time. This is well over, 15 years ago. Different time, you know. But moving forward, I left, and, kind of, I took a break from church. I took a good, year and some change off of church. I really did. And it also hurt when Mr. Joel Clay did what he did. And never apologized for it. Because, people that do stuff like that think that they're in the right all the time. And in reality, they're not. Because offering gay conversion camp is not how you handle that situation. It just isn't. I knew that. My grandma knew that. The other two people in the room knew that. It was hard. But I left Emmanuel Missionary Baptist Church. And the ministry kind of suffered a little bit. Especially when people found out what happened. It did. It was nice knowing that I had more support than I thought. It was nice. It really was nice. But I wish there was more. I wish there had been more. But again, different time. This is well over, 15 years ago. Different time.